Welcome back. Today's topic is on ADHD. It is a very interesting topic and I'm sure you will get a lot of information from this video. ADHD stands for Attention Deficit Hyperactivity Disorder. ADHD is one of the most common neurodevelopmental disorders of childhood. It is usually first diagnosed in childhood and often lasts in adulthood. Children with ADHD may have trouble paying attention, controlling impulsive behaviors, or being overly active. Before 1980s, ADHD was recognized as ADD, that is Attention Deficit Disorder. People with a strong family history have more chances of suffering from it, but it has nothing to do with a lack of intelligence. 1 in 10 children suffer from ADHD, that is 10% of the child population. These children have trouble holding their attention and are easily distracted. An interesting thing is that they have hyperfocus in certain things. They find it hard to focus on the things they are not interested in, but have a laser focus on things they love. Some of the common behaviors of ADHD are they often procrastinate and run late, but at the same time work great with the deadline. The reason behind this is the fear of the deadline or failing to meet it gives them the motivation to concentrate on the task. They have a good long-term memory but a poor working memory. I will explain this with an example. In a computer, there are 2 types of memory, a hard disk and a RAM. RAM stands for random access memory. When we switch the computer or laptop on and open any of the programs, the data related to that program loads into RAM. This helps the computer to operate more quickly. And when we are finished, the data is stored back on the hard drive. This acts as long-term memory. If we switch the computer off without saving our work, all the data will be lost as it was in the RAM and wasn't saved to the hard drive. Children who suffer from ADHD have poor working memory, so they struggle with the task they are working on. Things like following a process with set instructions. They would need a reminder in the form of a written instruction to complete the task, and that task could be as simple as cooking something to eat. This particular symptom is common in another disease called age-related dementia. There are dozens of sensory inputs around us all the time, but we choose to focus on only one thing at a time, and the hormone that plays a big role in attention focus is called dopamine. It helps us create tunnel vision and focus from our visual and auditory point of view. If it doesn't happen, we will be confused and lost in a bombardment of information. 2 networks of the brain that are relevant in ADHD are default mode network and task network. The default mode network is activated when we are doing nothing, just sitting and not paying attention to anything in particular, by letting our mind wander off. Whereas task network is activated when we are trying to achieve something. Usually, the default mode network and task networks communicate with each other. The parts of the brain that take part in the default mode network are the dorsolateral prefrontal cortex, posterior cingulate cortex, and lateral parietal lobe. These areas work together in synchronization. When one area is active, the other 2 also become active at the same time. In a normal brain, these 2 work together as a team. However, in ADHD sufferers or people with sleep deprivation, these areas don't work together as they are supposed to. In the task network, the brain area that is in charge is called the medial prefrontal cortex. This instructs the other areas on what to do and what not to do. In ADHD, both the networks are working at the same time, which is unusual because non-ADHD sufferers only have one type of network active at any one time. It's like an on-off switch, which is either on or off at any one time and can't be on and off simultaneously. Another example of this is a kid's seesaw ride, where one side is down when a child pushes it downwards and the other is up and vice versa. Dopamine is the coordinator that directs which network will be active and which will be inactive at one time. What will happen if dopamine is not present or low? Let's look at this from a more observational point of view. What humans usually want more of is what they already don't have. In the case of ADHD sufferers, it is attention deficiency, and they need something to help them fix that. According to a study published in 2015, when dopamine levels are low, the neurons fire when they shouldn't. To fix the low dopamine, ADHD sufferers try to get help from different substances. The adults rely on packets of cigarettes and shots of coffee, as these will help with attention and focus. Some even go to another level and take recreational drugs, which they take for a quick temporary fix, without thinking of long-term effects and consequences. The children who suffer from ADHD are more attracted to sugary sweets and drinks as compared to other children. As adults use nicotine from cigarettes and caffeine from tea or coffee to attain high levels of dopamine, similarly, children use sugar for the same purpose. An interesting thing is that ADHD children take sugar, which calms them down, but in normal children, it has the opposite effect. Sugar makes them hyperactive and they struggle to calm down. Let's talk about the treatment of ADHD. From a medical point of view, there are three types of drugs: Ritalin, modafinil, and Adderall. These drugs increase dopamine, especially in the networks that control directed behavior and coordinate the default mode network. All these drugs are also prescribed for narcolepsy. That is, when people tend to go to sleep when they are emotionally excited or have excessive daytime sleepiness, although they also slept at night. Normal people become more alert when they are emotionally excited, but unfortunately, narcolepsy sufferers do the opposite. You can imagine how distressing that would be for the narcolepsy sufferers. I'm not giving an example and leave it to your imagination. All the drugs have side effects. Let's begin with caffeine. It doesn't have major side effects like recreational drugs, but those who are sensitive to caffeine can have palpitations, that is fast heartbeat, or insomnia, which is struggling to sleep, especially if they take it near their bedtime. They can also have higher attention or focus that is not required at all times. It hinders relaxing the mind. On the other hand, recreational drugs and medications for ADHD treatment come with side effects. These are vasoconstrictors. All of them increase heart rate and heightened level of attention, same as when you are stressed. Then there is another issue. The release of dopamine gives humans that euphoric feeling that they crave. When they don't get that high feeling, they want higher and higher doses to hit the high point. Length of treatment for ADHD is very important. The clinician needs to decide how much and for how long someone needs to take these medications. Without making them addicted to these drugs, it is better to combine behavioral therapy with these drugs and wean them off gradually, so they can only rely on the therapy rather than the drugs. According to another study, 200 milligrams of phosphatidylserine helps improve ADHD symptoms. There are also some claims that ginkgo biloba can help alleviate symptoms of ADHD, but more research is needed. For those who are not interested in taking medication and want to try an alternative method of treatment, number one, it can be cure this with the help of food. In 2011, a food elimination study was conducted on 100 children. 50 children were in a food elimination group, whereas the rest of the 50 were in the control group. The results were very encouraging. Without any medication, by eliminating sugar and any allergy triggering food helped with the ADHD symptoms. A couple of suggestions are very helpful. Eliminate the simple sugars from the diet and add omega-3 fatty acids to the diet. Simple sugars mean added sugar or sugar from the food that lacks fiber, vitamins, and minerals. Omega-3 fatty acids mainly come from fish oil and some other sources too. It doesn't cure the problem, but it plays a role to keep things under control. In other words, it is readily available to help the situation when required. There are some controversies around the elimination diet. The more food children avoid, leads to more chances of developing allergies. Number two, another alternative method to improve focus is meditation. When we are looking for something, our focus is on that particular thing, and as a result, we ignore distractions occurring around us. The same thing happens with ADHD sufferers. They only focus on things they like, and for them, the rest is just irrelevant. They think that because they are uninterested, so there is no need to focus. People who suffer from ADHD not only have difficulty in focus, but also struggle to sit still. So meditating for 15 to 20 minutes every day helps a lot with focus and being still. Another method to treat ADHD is called TMS therapy, which is transmagnetic stimulation. This is a non-invasive treatment in which stimulation of prefrontal cortex is involved using a magnetic field over the skull. Finally, some words on deliberate distractions of our modern day life, that is gadgets, smartphones and tablets, etc. In entire human history, there has never been a time when we were bombarded with so much information. Don't get me wrong, information has always been out there since the beginning of time. The human race was not forced into consuming this information in such a short space of time. People used to travel hundreds of miles to get new information and seek knowledge. With the help of modern technology, we can have millions of pieces of information in our palms within seconds. If we have access to that information, it may not be a bad thing, but our competitive and curious minds force us to swipe through pages and pages on modern apps in the form of words, pictures, and movie clips. The effect it has on our brains are detrimental. Our brains are forgetting to focus on important things in our life, and it is struggling to focus. It is not bad news only for ADHD sufferers, but also for those who don't suffer from it. A 2014 study suggested that young people need to limit their smartphone usage to 60 minutes in 24 hours for them to focus on important tasks of daily life. Unfortunately, though, we all observe school children absorbed in their mobile phones while walking to and from school and spending more time on them than other activities. This is causing an epidemic of mental health problems. To end, a reminder of the importance of a good night's sleep, physical activity, and a nutritional diet. No one can deny the importance of these. If you like this video, please like, share, and subscribe. Also, leave a comment down below to let me know what you think of this video. Thank you.